Yeah, I just want to answer some questions today for those of you who were probably just recently diagnosed, and I'll try to keep this brief and as simple as I can. The first thing I want to say is that this condition has no cure. And honestly, if people talk like they absolutely know what to do and how to fix you or anything like that, they're almost entirely full of shit. And someone on Reddit recently asked me, like, how did you figure everything out for yourself with all this contradictory information online? And I think the truth is that I was highly interested in experimenting, and I think that that's something that really can help with the condition as much as possible. Is you need to be really open-minded towards different things that might work for you. You need to try stuff, because what might work for me or someone else might not work for you at all. You just have to be willing to adapt and be as flexible as you can with this condition, because there are certain paths that I've found, at least, that work really well for me. And I've had to change many jobs, and I've changed a lot of my diet, and I've changed a lot of my physical fitness and what I do at the gym and what makes me feel comfortable. There's so many things. I think if you have a long-term process with it, if you think about it in the long term, you'll find a lot better results, because there isn't like a quick fix. There isn't something that I found that's like, oh, if I just don't do this one thing, I feel great all the time. I mean, it's happened somewhat sometimes, but generally speaking, like there isn't really a quick fix. The other point I want to make was that going to doctors is like it's a thing where my expectation used to be like, oh, they're gonna go and make me feel better. They're gonna heal me. But in reality, like they'll deal with acute symptoms most of the time in my experience. They don't deal with like really the meat and the bones of everything, because they don't have time and they don't have the capacity to do that. But the cool thing is that if you really take your life seriously and take your health seriously, you have the time and the capacity to deal with all that stuff. When I kind of took the responsibility over myself, that's when I started noticing I had huge results in comparison. And I think that you can do it too. I think we all can. I think it takes a lot of effort and motivation to do it. And I think that if you can get to a place where you feel very motivated to take charge of your life, I think you'll find it'll help a tremendous amount. But you really have to be open towards doing that. The next thing I wanted to bring up is socializing, which might be kind of a weird one to talk about. But for me, I was very alone in dealing with my condition, and I was very young. And I found that socializing with people was a really tough thing to do, because I wanted everyone to help me and I wanted everyone to understand. The truth is that with a condition like this, no one does and no one can understand. And I think people do over time eventually. But I remember like most people didn't even believe me. That was a really tough thing to go through. I felt really alone. And the more alone I felt, the more I wanted to tell people and talk to people about it. And I found I pushed tons of people away. I just want to give you guys the tip that like keeping it to yourselves is actually a pretty helpful thing to do, even though that might not be exactly what you want to hear. It really did help me realize that like I don't need to put this on people and burden people so much. I really do feel like people want to understand, but I don't think people really can get it through their head. As much as you want to communicate it, as much as you tell people, it's so complex and it's so layered and it's so challenging. And most people, I don't think, go through their lives dealing with so much pain and discomfort. And I think it's something that you unfortunately have to deal with now, but it's okay, because it's not okay, but it's such a hard thing. This is such a hard thing to talk about, because I want to be really respectful of people's feelings. But at the same time, I'm trying to be kind of hard about the truth of it. Yeah, this is rough. It's very hard, because I want to be silly and have fun. But for anyone who's going through this condition at the beginning, it is not silly and fun. It is the worst. It's the worst period of their lives. Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up is that I think expectations for pain, this is just my experience, but my pain and discomfort were by far the worst for the first 3-4 years, for sure. Because I was 16 years old, 17 years old when it really started to kick in and started to get pretty intrusive in my life. And I was so young and I was very naive, and the medical system was not with it compared to what it is now. And I tried to run away from the pain all the time. And I think running away from that pain was probably what made me suffer tremendously. I took a lot of different dark paths to try to deal with that, and you can unpackage that the way you want to. I think trying to embrace the fact that you're going to be in pain, that this condition is going to stick around, and that it can get better, but just understanding like it's not going to get better unless you start treating it like it's a situation or a problem that you actually have to challenge yourself and overcome. And that's what I just tried to escape it, tried to run away as fast and as far as possible, and it didn't work. I ate shit really hard. And so if you start looking at it like I got to take my health seriously in a very big way and in a very mature way, I think you'll find so much more success with that than than I did when I was younger. And these are all things that I'm just trying to say because I wish someone had given me these tips when I was just getting diagnosed. Because it's really, really tough, and I totally get it. It's a very, very difficult place to be because it's just so confusing dealing with all these new problems. If there's one thing I hope you can take away from me talking about this stuff, is that it can get way easier. It can get way, way easier to deal with. Not only do you get better at juggling all these things, but you get way more resilient over time in dealing with it. But the challenge is you kind of have to squeeze yourself mentally and with your motivation to keep discipline, to stay on top of stuff, and to really start understanding how your body works and how it's affected by different things. And I think you will find a lot of results with that. As much as I really enjoy online communities, it's very difficult to stay on them all the time because of how a lot of people are really suffering and struggling. And if you're anything like me, if you're easily influenced by others, what you can find yourself in, even subconsciously, you can start focusing on how hard this is in a way that's not healthy, right? Like there's so many people that struggle so intensely with this condition, and I think we all do, but kind of hovering in that world where you're just constantly reading different people going through super, super hard times, it can be a very bad place to be. And that's part of the reason why I want to make these videos, is because I'm looking to try to talk about all of the problems that are associated with this condition, but I also really want to talk about as many positives and as many solutions as I can. Because I've had this for 20 years, and I get it. I know the ups and downs, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And I really want to focus on the ups because I think we all know clearly and inherently what the downs are. And the downs fucking suck. They are the worst. Anyways, guys, hang in there. I know how tough it is. I really do. I understand how difficult that beginning stage is. If you guys have any questions, just comment. I'll respond to them if I can, or I'll make another video out of it because I want to keep this train going. The last thing I want to say is just take everything I say with a grain of salt because I'm just a guy. I'm just someone who's similar to you probably, but I don't have all the answers for everything, and you have to look everywhere you possibly can to find solutions and answers for yourself. And hopefully this is just another one of those places you might be able to look. All right, guys, that's it today. Peace.